Look. Okay, 51-7, take it to the grave. Legends never die, that's why we still awake. Sun keep beaming, city still breathing. Living in the moment, never gonna leave it. 51-7, take it to the grave. Legends never die, that's why we still awake. Sun keep beaming, city still breathing. Living in the moment, never gonna leave it. I ain't never seen a city sleep. You can really hit a city breathe. They be saying we ain't got culture, they just don't know what it really means. No, we gotta represent, heavy underrated, yeah, we gotta make a scene. No shade to the other guys, but you can't deny we the one to be. Capital city, the map looking pretty when we on it. So community driven, the people we living with, loving each other. That's all that we seeking for, ain't no reason to need more. A lot of people saying go to the D4, so we need.
I'm really good.
Good.
I'm really glad you're here. It's been real cool to have conversations with board members, with community leaders, nonprofit, folks that run government organizations, folks that run their own organizations. But I can tell you that my favorite conversations are with our scholars, because here's the coolest part. Our scholars have their own stories. Mm-hmm. They're each unique. They're each different. They're each dope. And every scholar has a voice that deserves to be heard. Mm-hmm. You have a voice that deserves to be heard. So, Aurora, let's kick it off real simple. You ready for this?
Ready.
Tell us about yourself.
Cool. Okay.
Because that's not open-ended, so.
Yeah, that's just, it's a very broad subject, but I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to be able to tell you about myself. So, I'm obviously born and raised in Lansing, maybe not so obvious, but my parents were very active in the Lansing community. That's how I've been raised. They were on community boards. They were heavily into nonprofit when I was growing up. Yeah. So that and just been them being good parents has like instilled a lot of confidence in myself, and also just like I've always felt the need to give back or to somehow contribute to Lansing and give back to everything that Lansing has done for me. So my parents were great. I went to Pleasant View Magnet School, the elementary school, all from kindergarten up until 7th grade. It's not a school anymore, sadly, but we did. I was in plays. I was Annie and Annie. I was very much wanted to be a singer at one point and everything. Yeah. So that was very helpful to my upbringing. And then I went straight into Everett. I started in the New Tech program in middle school and graduated early, but through COVID and everything like that, so kind of got into a shortened high school experience, but still loved Everett. And from there, now I'm at school at LCC and Northwood. I'm doing the 3+1 program, so I'm going after a scholarship in business management, obviously supported by the Lansing Promise. And so that's a little bit about myself, but also I've always just been excited to start my career, excited to work. I started working when I was 14 at a small restaurant and worked there for a few years, got promoted to like shift supervisor before I turned 16, and I graduated when I was 16. And now I've just been kind of putting together all the experience that's led me up to this point. So,
What's cool, right? So, in the nonprofit world, because I'm old, that's how I met your folks.
Right, of course.
Way back in the day.
Yes.
We were doing community-based work, and your mom and your old man both have a significant heart, right, for this community, but also for ensuring that voices are heard. Right. And I think that's been an important piece. And I know you and your brother certainly share that value. Yeah. Because it's been modeled.
Yeah, definitely.
Right. I think about like the setting of an example. Right. And I think, we've had Coach AJ on. Right. And me and Coach AJ are talking through some work that we can begin to do in Everett and in the high schools, generally speaking. Right. And we'll talk about that in a bit for sure. But, she said something, and I think you've confirmed it too, but would love to talk about it a bit. It's the idea of show me, don't tell me. Right? Like you're graduating from Everett, you're kicking tail at LCC, you're doing a lot of cool things. We'll get into career stuff in a minute. But like when a student's in high school, let's say, could you break down a little bit for the older heads? What does show me, don't tell me kind of mean to you?
Yeah, I think, adults will always, there's a balance where have throughout my life always spoke positive things into me.
Yeah.
And I think that there is a benefit of telling students things, but it's also, that's nothing without a follow through. And the follow throughs have been what have positioned me in where I am right now, and what have kind of like validated the things, the positive things that people say. So I remember in 10th grade in my economics class at Everett, I did a Shark Tank competition as like a group project. And it was super cool because our teacher, Mr. K, he brought in community leaders to be on the panel of the scoring, and mine and my group won the competition. And so we got to make individual connections with those business leaders that were on the panel. And a man, Gregory Farhat from Jackson National Life, he took me and another student on a tour of Jackson National like a couple weeks later.
Awesome.
And it completely blew my mind, changed changed my trajectory of where I was going to go, because I was like, I need to be in an office space that's as cool as this. And that was just one of those things where it's like, you can say, you're committed to students and everything, but are you going to take your students on a tour of an office building to instill something like that in them? That's does way more than telling me I'm going to be successful.
Well, and so you think about that piece, right? And so like seeing that, this cool, unique, hip office, and Jackson is a gorgeous building.
It's sweet.
The design and the architecture and the people.
Yeah.
And shout out to Jackson. They are big supporters of the Promise and Lansing kids.
Yeah.
Because they get it.
They get it.
And it sounds like they really get it, because you got folks who are doing Shark Tank and understand that entrepreneurship is one of those pathways.
Yeah.
Now, within that cool corporate setting, that cool office setting, that's led you into, I think, a couple of cool jobs that you've had.
Definitely.
Maybe break down. So you graduate from Everett, you're going to LCC and Northwood. What kind of jobs have you been doing lately?
Yeah.
And what's keeping you busy right now?
Yeah. So when I was still in high school, I mentioned I started working at a restaurant, and that was good to get me like some small business experience and kind of understanding the way that smaller businesses run. But I've always been interested in like the kind of corporate environment. So I worked at Starbucks for a little bit, but that wasn't super life-changing at all. After that, I started working as a tax season intern at a local accounting firm, Maynard Costairs, and it's on the north side. So I did a tax season internship there, and that was an office setting, really kind of traditional office work, but it really that was what taught me the basic like Outlook and Microsoft Suite and everything like that, and just
so
like
stacking skills at that point.
Kind of like the workplace etiquette of what's expected when you're in an office place. That was the first time I billed my time instead of clocking in and clocking out. So that's something that's a little bit different for folks. But yeah, so that was very cool. I did that through tax season internship, and then I landed a position at Lansing Board of Water and Light. So I started in human resources as a co-op student, and that was very cool. I loved HR. I still love HR. I think that understanding the background of everything that's happening in a business that's pretty big, 500 to 1,000 people, is huge, and kind of that helped me understand, interviews. I facilitated the interviews as well as like reviewed the resumes and everything. So kind of like getting into that mindset of being the person behind the job and not the person like applying to it was very cool. And then from there, I transitioned up to community relations at BWL. That was really when I was like, I want to feel like I'm doing something for the community. And that was really cool. I got to host a lot of BWL events. Their Rio Town 10-year anniversary celebration, I got to put that all together, and I'm born and raised in Rio Town, so that was very cool. And that was just a lot of good experience there. And then from then, I worked at Michigan Public Health Institute for a while doing I was a data assistant, so I wanted to get some like hard skills with data, and that was very cool. It was under a project around like epidemiology and learning about mothers and babies and everything like that. So not super something I'm passionate about, but it was still cool to see the healthcare side of things kind of. And then from there, now I am an intern at Lansing Economic Area Partnership, an economic development intern. That's been my favorite by far.
Excellent.
I've always said, like, I want to help people and not really known how or like what the right way to go about it is. But I think that affecting your economy and investing in the community that you live in is the 100% the easiest, not the easiest, the best way to help people. So that's kind of where I am now. But then I'm also transitioning into starting something. So being the kind of founder, if you will, of a new program. So it's kind of marrying all of those skills that I've collected along the way and turning into something that I'm really like proud of and passionate about.
Well, so like, let's talk about that entrepreneurial venture, right? You've had a pretty unique journey already. Just even in just a couple of years, you've stacked skills. You've learned, like you're saying, different types of etiquette, different types of work environments, what fits for you, what is best. More importantly, you've navigated, again, you mentioned several very great employers, all happen to be sponsors and supporters of the Promise. Funny how that is, because it turns out good folks understand good investment.
Exactly.
But even more so, when we look at the opportunities that you've had, you've gained things from it. You've brought value to it. You've worked on a fit.
Yeah.
Right? I think oftentimes we're told, go to school, get a job, just work. And those are parts of it.
Right.
But imagine working in something you actually love.
Yeah.
Right? That actually gives you energy. You're getting that through this LEAP work and this economic development. But what's super exciting is, to me, this entrepreneurial work that you have moving next.
Yeah.
Which just in the short time that you have been working with the Promise is really exciting. My Leap is not it, because My Leap is a statewide program.
Yeah.
That, I'm perfectly honest, let me just say this out loud, it will eventually be partnering with you guys. That's all. That's all.
Right.
So go ahead.
So yeah, I think the entrepreneurial thing is something that's always been coming for me. Like I haven't wanted to settle on something that I wasn't proud of, and this came a few months ago, and it was a spark in my head, and then it slowly but kind of quickly developed into something I am super proud of and I'm very excited for. And it kind of marries what I've been talking about, and to go with what you're saying, like there is kind of an expectation, especially with the older generation, like maybe even the generation older than you, that you, in order to have a good, nice looking resume, you have at least 5 years at each of these places. And that's not what my resume looks like. And I just think that that kind of expectation is going to change with the new generation, with my generation and my younger brother and everyone. There is a drive more to find things that fulfill us, not things that just sign a paycheck and we devote our time to. We spend more time at work than we do with our family. We spend more time at work than I do in school. You know, work can quickly overwhelm your life, and it should be something that you're passionate about and that you feel fulfilled by. So how do we start pouring that into the younger generation, that they deserve career opportunities that do make them feel happy and excited, even if it's not what they're going to spend the rest of their life doing, something that kind of makes the time worthwhile in between. So that's what we're trying to put together.
I love it. I mean, and you know this, right? We are in what they call a talent crisis.
Yes, exactly.
So here's the interesting part, though. 9 years ago, when I started at the Promise, the number one issue in business was a need for talent.
Yeah.
The number two issue in business, specifically in small businesses in the state of Michigan, was a lack of growth because they needed talent.
Yeah.
So talent was the first and second issue. 9 years later, we're still there.
Yeah.
And it's not that things haven't been tried. And to be honest, not that we've seen some progress.
Right.
Break it down a little bit, though. Your perspective and your sort of strategy on this, because I have to admit, I've been a part of hundreds of conversations about talent development.
Yeah.
Right? Running a citywide place-based scholarship program for every kid in the city. We want to see them succeed beyond high school.
Right.
Great. What does that mean? Well, good question. Education, employment, entrepreneurship. We can say all that. But if we don't reach hearts and minds, what are we doing?
Right.
So break down for us what sets us apart from the other work.
Yeah, well, I think it's an ongoing issue. You know, it was an issue not 10 years ago, and it will be an issue still. But the solution to that is creating pipelines. So there is a lot of job fields that are for sure going to always have young people coming in. Food service is always going to have easy entry level, not even to just young people, but to anyone. Retail is another one that is just really easy to enter. But those aren't the fields that are saying we can't find people. Maybe they are too, but the ones that are saying we can't find people are more of the high skill level ones, or just the ones that are kind of more specific to their industry. And the fact of the matter is, kids aren't saying, when you ask someone what do you want to be with when you grow up, they're not going to say, I want to be a entry-level worker when I grow up.
Right.
They're saying these more specific things, but they're not even aware of all of the opportunities in the fields that are out there. So how do we bring that awareness to the students and then use that to solve this problem of we don't have any workers, we don't have skilled workers? Well, they're out there. They're just not skilled yet, but they may be interested in.
Ooh, that's so good.
And when they have something like the Lansing Promise Scholarship to fund that secondary post-secondary education, that just makes it that much easier for them to achieve that, but they don't even know what it is that they're gunning for at this point in time. So that's kind of the bridge.
Well, and here's what I think is so important about that bridge. We can build, at the Promise, we can build the greatest scholarship on the face of the earth.
Exactly.
Right? But that's a how.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a why or what.
Yeah.
Right? So our goal is to reduce financial barriers, right? To make sure that students have the financial support needed to at least get through LCC debt-free.
Exactly.
Right? Or get through a skilled trade debt-free, or get into MSU or Olivet or Davenport with at least $20,000 in their account, or get to Douglas J, or get to other programs as we build them. Great.
Exactly.
But why?
Mm-hmm.
And that I think is what's going to be so, I don't want to say revolutionary. It's crazy because it's actually commonsensical the way you've built this.
Mm-hmm.
But when you first laid out this concept and you laid out this remarkable business plan, and I started reading, I was like, who wrote this? Oh, Aurora wrote this.
Mm-hmm.
But she said everything that we've been trying to do at the Promise for the last 9 years, and she put it into a few pages. But not only did she do that, she didn't guess. That, at least from my vantage point, here's what often happens once you get past 40. You're guessing what kids want.
Yeah.
You're guessing how it works. We're sure hoping this works for the kids.
Right.
As opposed to, you've taken a different approach on that.
Mm-hmm.
Break down a little bit, if you could, how this work is being informed.
Yeah. So I just graduated. Technically, I graduated in 2021, but I'm class of 22. So that was only a few years ago. But even I can recognize that I just turned 20, and that my interests are not the same as 14 and 13-year-olds right now. Just things are changing. But my brother is 15, and I've been doing my part to talk to anyone who's younger than me to see how they feel about their future and their career and everything. And there's just a lot of, when I talk about, okay, this is what I'm thinking about doing, they're like, the common theme is, oh my gosh, I wish I would have had that when I was in high school. Or yes, that is something that I would be interested in learning about. And there are students on different levels of preparedness. And I was someone who felt prepared to enter the workforce, who always wanted a job, who always felt like I was going to go to college. But even then, now that I'm putting together this framework in this curriculum, there's still things that I wish I would have heard when I was younger. So then you compare that to someone who doesn't feel prepared to enter the workforce, who doesn't have a clue in the world of what they're going to go do. How do we make this information readily available to people even on that lower level of preparedness? And I think that doing it in a way that is fun and is interactive and isn't mandatory is the approach that people haven't taken as of yet. So that's kind of, I think, what you're speaking to is when you assume what students want, okay, we're going to assume that they need to come to this assembly and they need to listen to what we have to say. That's not accurate. And the difference is that we're going to ask the students what they want to see and then provide that to them in a way that's easily digestible and that's fun and that they want to talk and tell their friends about. So,
I mean, again, when you describe it, it sounds like, oh, yeah, of course, we should be listening.
Yeah.
In order to listen, we have to ask.
Right.
In order to ask, we have to be willing to admit we may not have the answers. I think what's powerful about this, too, is you're not only saying it's important to ask our students, you have put together remarkable and thoughtful surveys that will inform even the direction of where we take it as soon as the spring and fall. Right? Maybe break down a little bit of even how that survey approach is working.
So I'm so excited about that. I mentioned earlier that I got a job just to teach me the skills of data, and I'm taking a statistics class right now too. So data is something that I mean, right now, just from my research on the national scale, the problem is there, and the data is already there. On a national scale, students don't feel prepared to choose their career path after they graduate. On a national scale, students feel like they just aren't sure, you know? So...
Oh, sorry. I'm 42, also not sure.
Right.
Continue.
Exactly. I'm still not sure, too. So that's not the problem in itself. The problem is that we need Lansing data to support what the Lansing students feel. So
that's right.
The survey that I put together will ask students if they're already working, what are they working in? What are their wages? I'd love to see our students making closer to that $10 an hour or even less, closer to minimum wage, or are they making closer to that $15 an hour where we want them to be higher wages?
That's right.
But even then, for the students who aren't working, it asks them, do you want to work? Do you feel that you need to work? Or do you just not want to work at all? So for those students that need to work, why do you feel that you need to work? Are your needs being met? And really, for every student that goes through the survey, they'll be asked if their needs are being met. Yeah. And I think that's just something that people don't want to talk about as much, but there is this standard that even if students don't want to work necessarily, there are a lot of students in our Lansing School District that need to work.
That's right.
And it doesn't mean that they won't go to college or that they won't pursue their career. It means that they need money for themselves or their families. And whatever we can do to kind of provide that with them, along with, okay, you're building something that will make you content in your future life or set you up for success. And heavy emphasis on generational wealth. That's something that I've always talked about, that I'm still trying to secure for myself and my family, but that's just the biggest thing that the Lansing students need, I feel.
That's right. Well, and that's real talk, and the reality is this. Every one of our scholars is working.
Yeah.
A lot of our students work before they graduate high school.
Yeah.
I worked before I graduated high school. You worked before. There's a whole lot of folks that work.
Yeah.
I think it is a powerful question to ask. Do you need to or not? But reality is, if you're working, you got some need,
exactly.
Right? And whether that's need to have some fresh clothes or that's need to make sure you got food, clothes, and shelter,
Right.
Work is work.
Yeah.
To your point, and how amazing is that concept? Not only could you work, but imagine if you're working toward a larger career that actually helps build not only family wealth, but satisfaction in a job.
Exactly.
So that we don't have to just settle. Now, that doesn't mean we don't have to put in the work.
Right.
That doesn't mean we're not going to have hard jobs.
Right.
I've dug graves. I've cleaned sewers. Right. Like I've fixed shoes. I've had all kinds of wild jobs, and I love them all. And that's all great work. Yeah. Hard work is good work.
Right.
It just didn't speak to me.
Yeah.
And so I had to learn that wasn't it. That's it. That's not it. That's it.
Yeah. And to that point, there are these career paths that we can try out and we can test out and say, that's not for me. Yeah. But my mentality is that if we are surveying or looking at the entire student population, there are students who will be interested in things that other students aren't. And when we're thinking about the national career shortage, if we can find some of these students that, yes, I would love to go be a garbage man. Yes, I would love to dig graves. Yes, I'm not scared of heights. I can get up and fix electrical wires up in the sky. We find those students and usher them into that success. Then we're solving the problem of the job shortage, and then we're also supporting students in things that they actually like to do. Instead of just sending everyone out into anywhere and kind of like dealing with the repercussions from that.
That's right. Well, and some of those repercussions I think that we're seeing even now is one of the reasons for the talent shortage is that folks just left the workforce.
Yeah.
If you love the work you do, you don't need to leave.
Exactly.
Right? If you if you feel satisfied in the work you do, to be perfectly honest, you don't have a midlife crisis.
Right.
I'm not saying life doesn't get stressful,
Yeah.
but I'm saying if we get this right and you have a student who grows up in Lansing, who learns about Lansing Save, right? Children's savings account for every kid in the city, learns about Lansing Promise, we got your back, and then actually begins to work with my path in 9th through 12th grade?
Yep.
So in 9th through 12th grade, at any time that they begin to have an interest in what a career could be,
Exactly.
right? We're saying that, hey, you can now have some awareness, some exposure to it, right? And here's the cool part. You don't have to be the end-all, be-all. You've done a really nice job, I think, weaving pieces together. Right? We're talking with, and we're going to be talking with Michigan Works about certification programs within soft skills and professional skills and development. We're going to be talking to the state of Michigan. We're going to be talking to Lansing School District, talking to anyone and everyone, and of course many of our employers, weaving current existing needs together, right? We're not really reinventing the wheel. We're making the wheel better. Right,
exactly.
Right?
Yeah, and that's kind of my mentality is anything that someone is doing well will be something that I pass through, direct the students to someone who can be the expert matter, but the expert person,
I feel like that was good. Subject matter
expert.
Listen,
Yes,
they're the expert. They're the expert of the matter.
But yeah, anyone who is that subject matter expert can handle it. But what I think that I will do really well is kind of directing the students towards those resources. So I'm never going to tell someone, hey, you told me this is what you're interested in. I think you should go down this path. That's not necessarily my job. My job is to show all of the possibilities that are out there and kind of let you decide, and also reinforce the idea that you may not stick to this career and stay in it for the next 20, 30 years, and that's okay too. It's okay to go to college and choose something and decide something else later. How do we set you up for success regardless of if you change your mind or not?
Well, and to normalize that expectation that, again, you may change your mind because I ain't scared of change. It's the only thing constant, right? It is going to be constant. The ability to adapt and to navigate and to take skills that are transferable to the next job is really important. And that doesn't mean we don't have loyalty to an organization. That doesn't mean we're jumping ship because it got uncomfortable. But it does mean as we move, a best fit is really important, actually, for the organization and the individual. Now, within that, too, some of those those skills, right, those transferable skills that we're talking about, maybe break down sort of a few of the options that might be in this curriculum for students when we're talking about professional development. What does that mean?
Yeah, I think so. I really want to instill confidence. I think that's the number one. If you're confident about your own skills and your own strengths, then that makes it that much easier to put that on a piece of paper for a resume. And also kind of for high schoolers, they may not have prior work experience. So how do we translate what you have done or what you might not think as formal work experience, helping babysit or helping around the house or something? How do we formalize that and put it into paper so that you feel confident this is something that I'm good at doing? So that's number one. And then that goes hand in hand with interview skills and feeling confident to talk about yourself and how you can add value to the company, and really feeling that you do add value and that you're not begging for a position. The employer should be equally as honored to bring you on. And then further from that is workplace expectations. I think when students do enter something, for me it was entering an office space, but it could also be entering a warehouse or manufacturing or something along those lines. If you don't feel confident, or if it's a big question mark, you don't know what to expect when you're going in the first day. So kind of alleviating that and saying, hey, this is what it's expected of you. These are the bare minimum skills that you may need, and really just making them feel confident.
I mean, so imagine those skill sets. What I think is so important about it, right? You've experienced that as you develop those skill sets, your job maybe becomes easier, but actually becomes feasible. Right? It makes not only an opportunity for additional work, but it also makes an opportunity just to do better, feel more confident and comfortable in the work you're doing. Right? Because we're all kind of feeling like we're faking it. It's just that once you get enough skill sets, you realize I'm not faking it as much anymore. Maybe I'm not faking it at all today. And so I think what's cool and what's exciting and what's real about this is that we're getting to the roots of kids' confidence, desires, interests. We're honoring and listening to them instead of telling them what they need to do.
Exactly.
But we're doing it in a way where they can make an informed decision based on both salaries, because it is important to earn,
yes,
but also interests and skill sets.
Yeah.
If you had sort of one word to share with either a high school student or students who have graduated already and they're figuring out their career, they're figuring out their education, they're figuring out entrepreneurship, what's that word?
Okay. It's not a word, but it's kind of a sentence.
There we go. Well, listen, when you're old, you say, that's a good word, and they might have just said a whole paragraph.
So something that my parents, I think especially my dad, has instilled in my head since I was younger is you can do anything you put your mind to. And that is, it seems kind of simple. It seems kind of maybe obvious, but it's not to a lot of students. And a lot of students don't have someone at home that's telling them that. But you can do anything you put your mind to. There was a long time that I wanted to become the president of the United States. And
to be clear, there's still time.
There's still time. There's still time. So it's not what I'm putting my mind to right now, but that's something I still feel that I could do one day eventually. But even besides all of that, when it comes to if a student needs to work or they feel that they want a job for whatever reason, if they understand that you can do anything you put your mind to, that kind of alleviates that whole confidence thing that we're talking about. But kind of reminding them of that that's what AJ is trying to do with the Motivate Me series. And that's what is important in all of this work, is that students do better when they feel they're trusted to do a good job and they feel that they can succeed. So that'll be a huge piece of this, is just reminding them that they can and they will do anything that they put their minds to.
There it is. Aurora, thank you for your work, my friend.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
And I look forward to what this becomes.
I'm excited. I can't wait.
Look. Okay, 51-7, take it to the grave. Legends never die, that's why we still awake. Sun keep beaming, city still breathing. Living in the moment, never gonna leave it. 51-7, take it to the grave. Legends never die, that's why we still awake. Sun keep beaming, city still breathing. Living in the moment, never gonna leave it.
Been too many moments of silence, too many lives have been lost to gun violence. My God, we need some guidance. It's the same city that can be so tragic, also produces a brother like Shabazz and bursts a man like magic. Why I'm Lansing, born and raised, 517 to the grave. We got culture in our veins, we take the reins. With reformation comes a promise, better future is upon us. You can doubt it like Thomas, but we gon' rise like Adonis, and ain't nobody gon' stop us. We gon' get better, this a letter to my city that we fed up. Ain't gon' let applying pressure until everybody gets it. They can't try us, they can't buy us, gentrify us. When it's coming to my city, man, I'm blue collar biased. They can't divide us. United we stand, like digits on a hand. Make it to the promised land. We coming up with a plan to make this a better place. I'm proud of Lansing, you can see it on my face. We gotta retrace and learn how to win this fight.
51-7, take it to the grave. Legends never die, that's why we still awake. Sun keep beaming, city still breathing. Living in the moment, never gonna leave it. 51-7, take it to the grave. Legends never die, that's why we still awake. Sun keep beaming, city still breathing. Living in the moment, never gonna leave it. I ain't never seen a city sleep. You could really hit a city breathe. They be saying we ain't got culture, they just don't know what it really means. No, we gotta represent heavy underrated, yeah, we gotta make a scene. No shade to the other guys, but you can't deny we the one to be. Capital city, the map looking pretty when we on it. So community driven, the people we living with, loving each other. That's all that we seeking for, ain't no reason to need more. A lot of people saying go to the D for it, so we need to be seen more. Dream more, need a reason to be more, we just gotta believe more. I mold my style around the influences that I've witnessed. A new beginning, truer vision, it'll soon be finished. Endless inspiration from the people that I've known. Yes, I've grown to love the city as the city made me grown. Know whatever way you choosing for yourself to be expressed, there's a place that's meant for you so you can grow into your best. I can attest to its greatness with my chest, I'm here to say it. We will soon become the mecca of success. I'm expecting nothing. 51-7, take it to the grave. Legends never die, that's why we still awake. sun keep beaming, city still breathing, living in the moment, never gonna leave it. 51-7, take it to the grave, legends never die, that's why we still awake. Sun keep beaming, city still breathing,